Now Catherine is dressing Nate like he is her son. Last week I wondered whether this relationship would get any worse. This week's writer John Stevens says, hold my beer.
Hold his fucking beer. Dressing him up like a boy toy. Like a fucking Ken doll.
So gross.
Oh my God.
Hey, Upper East Siders and all you scandal-loving listeners out there. You just tuned into the Non-Judging Breakfast Pod, where the coffee is strong, the waffles are fresh, and the gossip is hotter than ever. My name is Leif, and I'm your seasoned Gossip Girl veteran.
And I'm Steve, your newbie, your greenhorn, your, I don't know, Leif, what do we call the Season 2 Gossip Girl newbies?
I'm not really sure, but can you tell the difference between an American actor faking a British accent and a British actor playing an American faking a British accent?
As a matter of fact, I can pick up on it here and there, and I actually have quite a bit to say on that. I have quite a bit to say on that today.
Okay, let's go.
So here's the deal, folks. Leif has been a fan of Gossip Girl since the beginning, and I'm watching for the very first time. And together, we're your dynamic duo, bringing you all the drama, romance, and sometimes questionable fashion choices of this iconic 2007 series.
That's right. Each week, we're going to take a deep dive into the series, one episode at a time. We're going to analyze all the obscure references, parallels, and of course, the couture catastrophes. We're also going to talk about behind-the-scenes gossip and fandom stories along the way.
And since we're all about inclusivity here at the Non-Judging Breakfast Pod, there's always room for you at the Non-Judging Breakfast table. So go ahead and grab your mimosa, a cup of coffee, or some of Chuck and Nate's special medicine if it's that kind of morning, and let's go ahead and get right into this episode.
First, actually, we got a little cast news to talk about. Won't be exactly news by the time you guys are listening to this, but it was just a couple days ago that the new Ariana Grande video came out featuring our own Penn Badgley.
I didn't actually realize how new that was. You had mentioned it to me just today.
Yeah, they came out 4 days ago as of this recording.
Oh, okay.
So it's a sort of cover, but not a cover of The Boy Is Mine by Monica and Brandy, who are in the video as well. And I like the music's not exactly for me, but I did enjoy the video because it was, kind of a throwback. It told a whole story and went through like a whole scenario.
It really reminded me of the old MTV days where you would have like a bit of a movie that goes along with the video. You saw it like with a lot of Michael Jackson videos and a lot of the hip hop videos, especially like even with like the break in the middle that was no music and just a cut scene.
Yeah.
It really reminded me of some classic MTV when artists were really starting to try to play with the format. And yeah, like you said, the song wasn't for me. I wish no shade towards Ariana Grande. My niece is a huge fan.
Yeah. We don't want to be killed by the Grande fans, and she got a great voice. But I had to admit, I did go back and watch the Monica and Brandy version again, and it just not necessarily them, but the beat just had a little more junk in the trunk.
Yeah, and that song also is one. It's going to take me back. It's always going to put me back in college, and it's always going to take me back there. And whereas this song that I heard and I also have to be completely fair and say it is rare for a song the first time I hear it for me to be like, that's something I love.
Yeah.
But yeah, no shade towards Ariana Grande. And the video was fun.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with that video.
After listening to the Monica and Brandy one again, I was like, yeah, that is a thick beat. And so I had to go down a little rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So it was actually produced by Dallas Austin, who has worked with who's who of the music business. Yeah, Lionel Richie, Madonna, MJ, TLC, Duran Duran, Gwen Stefani, Pink, George Clinton, and George Michael.
Yeah.
So, and many others. So, yeah, he knew what he was doing.
It's also interesting that this video came out right before we are shooting this particular episode, because it did have all of the Batman themed, no Batman, but it was a very Gotham themed.
Yeah.
So
they definitely had Catwoman.
Yeah, definitely a Catwoman.
Was Penn playing Christopher Walken's character from Batman Returns?
Oh, I mean, maybe. I was seeing it more as the more recent, but maybe.
I kind of felt he was channeling that kind of character.
I see it now that you mention it.
So, enough about Ariana Grande, the lovely woman that she is. Happy 30th birthday. But we are here to talk about Gossip Girl. And we're going to talk about season 2, episode 3.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight. A reference I definitely get.
Obviously, Christopher Nolan's Batman movie, the second in his trilogy.
Yeah. And also just, which this would have been around that time, but also The Dark Knight just being a Batman reference. Anyway, I have a tattoo of Gotham.
Yeah. The original air date was September 15th, 2008. And the TV.com episode description reads, Serena and Dan are trapped in an elevator during a citywide blackout, making them work out their differences. Marcus and Blair have problems of their own, which is passion, while Chuck's problem is having no passion with women other than Blair. Nate struggles with his feelings for Vanessa and Catherine.
Yeah. I don't think he really does, but I don't think it's that he's struggling with his feelings. I think he's struggling with a situation.
Yes. So the episode was written by John Stevens. This is his first episode of Gossip Girl. Also has written for Gilmore Girls, The OC, Gotham, and Pennyworth.
Yeah. I actually have been meaning to watch Pennyworth just because I like the concept of it.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No. Janice Cook is back. She previously directed All About My Brother in season 1, which we both gave a B-.
Yeah, that was when Georgina outed Eric, right?
Yeah, and Asher and all that.
Yeah,
with the party, Jenny's party.
Yeah, not a terrible episode, but also not. Yeah, I mean, a B- episode.
I thought this was definitely a big improvement from the last 2 weeks.
Yes. Oh yeah, from the last 2 weeks, yes. Over season 1, no. Yeah. But
this episode I think could have fit just as well many episodes in season 1.
Yeah. I thought this was the first one that felt like they were trying again.
So I was thinking about it today after I rewatched it. In season 1 of the OC, they had this whole mini season before, because they ran 7 episodes during the summer.
Right. Yes.
And then they came back a month and a half later.
Yeah.
For the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a whole mini arc before they got to school.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot happened in that arc.
I remember this. I remember.
I kind of feel like they were trying to recreate that with the Hamptons, but it was just too short. It was only 2 episodes. So you had Dan and Serena get together and break up there was all these mini arcs that happened over 2 episodes.
Yeah, and
it just didn't work.
Right. Yes. And
now they're back to the city, and I will talk about the grade when we get there. But I definitely thought this episode was better.
I agree. I liked this episode.
Yeah, the heat wave was funny. Those days in the city are
horrible.
The dog days of summer.
The makeup. Kudos to the makeup department, and maybe they were just out in the city sweating it up like that. But the way that they had that you looked at them and it's like they were glistening like they were out in this city in the summer heat. Yeah, I really thought
I thought it was only in specific areas that they were glistening.
I mean, sweat gathers, and
it was cheeks and boobs. And I thought to myself, someone had the job that week of making sure Serena's tits were always glistening.
Where I really noticed it first though was Dan's neck.
Yeah.
Was the back of his neck,
Mm-hmm.
but the close-ups were definitely like, I mean, moisture gathers in crevices, right? That's the most disgusting thing I've said on this show, I think.
But yeah, like, because shooting for an episode usually lasts like 10 days or so.
Yeah.
So someone for those 10 days had the job of making sure
that she was glistening.
Jessica and Blake were glistening at all times.
Yeah. The other time I noticed it though was Blair when she comes in from outside and she's trying to hit that. And I also noticed it. I just really thought that stood out to me. Yeah. I felt the heat in that episode.
So moving into Act 1. In the last hazy days of summer, a few simple tips to beat the heat. 1. Drink plenty of fluids. 2. Stay out of the sun. 3. Limit all physical activity. That is, within reason. Gossip Girl narrates a montage. Chuck is drinking alone. Jenny is running errands. And Dan and Serena are making out.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that sums it up.
Blair is trying to get busy with Marcus, but the old limey doesn't have what it takes to come out and play.
Robin, right off the bat with this one, to end it with the forehead kiss. Like, to have this really sweet, like, you're more to me than that, and I don't want to rush things, and I want to think of you as this delicate flower, which also is kind of, but like, to go through all of that, but then to end it with the creepy forehead kiss from this, 32-year-old.
Yeah. We see Jenny struggling under all the stuff she is carrying while talking on the phone with Vanessa. They are discussing whether Vanessa should call Nate or not.
I love Jenny's advice here. I love how she's just like, will it sound creepy? Yeah, it will. It will. Yes, but that's what you do. Like, you're fucking Vanessa. Go be Vanessa and stop being this. And I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm. Now Catherine is dressing Nate like he is her son. Last week I wondered whether this relationship would get any worse. This week's writer John Stevens says, hold my beer.
Hold his fucking beer. Dressing him up like a boy toy. Like a fucking Ken doll.
So gross.
Oh my God. And yeah. Oh my. And it's funny because like when I mentioned that to Robin, her first response was like, oh, well, she's dressing him the way that she wants him to look for like the man she wants. But I was also like, but she's taking him shopping the way a mom takes their kids shopping for the first day of school to do it. Like, it was so gross.
Weird.
Yeah.
Nate gets a call from Vanessa and makes plans to hang out with her. Sure, this will go great.
Yeah. We've seen Nate lie before and kind of drown in his lies before, and this time he turns around, like, you can tell it's like that disdain that he actually is building for Catherine, or already has, where he just turns like, oh, it's my mom, doesn't blink an eye, doesn't have any hesitation, and just lies straight out and is just cool with it.
Yeah, well, in this case I don't blame him.
No, not at all. It's just that he never thinks through his lies. And this one was like, he didn't need to, but like, no hesitation.
Dan and Serena are walking down the street and announcing their relationship status. However, it looks like their secret is going to get out as a random person snaps a photo of the pair kissing on the sidewalk.
Yeah. I'll start now by saying that this whole Dan and Serena episode annoyed the shit out of me. Like all of it. And it started here where it's like Serena lives in the fucking spotlight. She has the reason you know her is because you saw her at a party and recognized her out of everybody else because she's always in the fucking spotlight. You've been watching her in the spotlight creepily for a year.
Well, that was before Gossip Girl.
But I'm saying, well, but
that was before the entity of Gossip Girl.
When was the entity of Gossip Girl?
Pretty soon after that.
Interesting. But my point still being that, like, prior to this relationship, Serena had lived a very public life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's how he knew so much about her to begin with. Like, he had to have, because...
But apparently he did not know anything about her.
Yeah, I guess. That's...
The whole thing with the relationship is he put her on a pedestal, and then when he got to actually know her, he realized
she was a human fucking being.
Yeah.
And a human being that is that has means well beyond his, and I was with the one girl.
Another week, and we get another cameo. This time it's former America's Next Top Model contestant Ann Markley. Chuck is walking her out of the penthouse and promises to call her later when he's feeling better. Chuck gets the blast about DNS kissing.
But it's like, why is Chuck irritated by this? Like, what Chuck seems irritated by the Gossip Girl blast, but like, what stake do you have in Dan and Serena?
Well, he just doesn't like Dan.
Yeah, but like, I felt like the Jenny and Blair reactions made more sense. I thought Chuck, it's like, what does Chuck care? I think Nate could have cared, but
he just cares about Serena, and he thinks that Dan's bad for her.
Yeah,
that's what the show's trying to tell you is Chuck cares about Serena as a sister, and he thinks this is the wrong decision.
Yeah,
which it is.
Yeah,
as we find out.
Yeah, maybe.
That's what the show is trying.
Yeah, to tell I know. Yeah, I'm just.
Blair also gets the blast and is disgusted,
and that made sense to me, especially when she explains herself later on. I love the best friend tough love later on.
Yeah, she had good advice.
Yeah.
Jenny runs back into the loft to hug and congratulate Dan. Rufus asks Dan if he worked out his issues with Serena yet, and Dan lies that he has.
And Rufus seems to see through that too.
Yeah.
Rufus can tell, like, oh,
yeah,
great, son.
Yeah, he knows his son likes to avoid those conversations. Vanessa and Nate are being cute walking down the street. However, Catherine is spying from her limo.
Yeah, the Nates, they're cute. I just coined that one. I don't know if someone else did. What is it? The Nates. I
don't think so.
Yeah,
I think their official ship name is Natessa.
Natessa. Let's see, like, but like, she is already like bossy of his time, and like, like, oh, you have family stuff again? It's like, I do have family stuff.
This is like now Lex Luthor status, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like tailing in the limo.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Blair and Serena are prepping for the party. They discuss Eleanor meeting Marcus for the first time. Serena tries to get Blair to ask Serena about Serena and Dan getting back together. Blair finally relents and asks Serena the same question Rufus asked Dan. Serena is a little more honest.
Yeah.
A little more.
Yeah. And like I said, Blair's response, okay, you guys talk through all of your stuff, and if you're still happy, then I will be happy for you.
Mm-hmm.
And fair.
Yeah. Blair gets a call from Catherine asking about who Nate was with. These ladies are scheming.
She lives in Brooklyn. The way she says that is so great.
Yeah. Nate comes over to the penthouse and finds Chuck in a robe smoking a joint. Nate changed his mind about Chuck's money, but it's too late. Chuck has reinvested. Chuck once again mentions some kind of ailment, whatever it is. Japanese takeout seems to be the cure.
Yeah, I called right then and there. I was like, Chuck can't get it up. I was like, Chuck can't get it up.
Oh. Back at the atelier, Jenny is busting her butt trying to get ahead in the fashion world. Jenny notices something off about the dress she is fitting to the model, but Laurel just slaps her down. Fly away, little J. Fly away.
Yeah. Right here, this scene, you see the plot line of this play out. It is a very obvious take. I end up liking it a lot anyway.
Cliches are cliche for a reason.
Yeah, well, I was having this conversation earlier. They're familiar and they feel good. And but like Laurel is such an asshole.
Yeah.
Like all the time. And I was like, Jenny, like Lil J, you chose this. This was your decision. You were like, oh, I could go work for the Cameo from 2 weeks ago, but no, I'm going to choose to work under these conditions instead. And Laurel didn't change at all. Yeah. She's like, oh, thank you for staying. Now know your fucking place.
Dan and Serena are walking in the park when Serena gets a call. Dan is taken to task by a trio of middle school girls dressed in BW uniforms. This scene was Josh Schwartz absolutely reading the message boards and turning those posts into dialogue on the show. And Dan and Serena are still avoiding the real conversation.
I loved it. I absolutely...
So hilarious.
I loved it. I loved these little junior Upper East Siders. And honestly, if Josh Schwartz wants to throw in the forum comments into his show regularly by throwing those girls in, I am here for it. I am totally here for it. I loved it. I was also when they're like, we're all on your side. It's like, not me. And I was like, yeah, little girl, because like he's a fucking dumbass.
But it's kind of interesting who was on his side.
The little girl that looked like
Blair.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Was she? I thought she had like blue eyes, but she had the headband.
Yeah, she had the headband.
She had the headband. Yep. I've come to realize the headband, the significance of the headband now.
That's why I said they're BW uniforms.
Yeah, yeah.
The Blair Waldorf uniform. Nate and Vanessa are about to kiss, but are interrupted by multiple texts from Catherine. Blair walks in, flowers and sunshine. However, Nate and Vanessa see through Blair immediately. When Vanessa walks away, Blair easily maneuvers Nate into bringing Vanessa to the party. Classic divide and conquer. Nathan, you are the weakest link.
It was. I loved this scene. I loved how they were both like, wait, you came down here to invite me to a party? Like how they both saw through it. But I loved how when Vanessa walks away and Nate, and they start like whisper arguing, and he's like, and what, your plan is to distract me with Vanessa? Yes. Well, that just seems really nice for one of your plans. Hey, what is she? And she says, don't be offensive. As far as your plans go, it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Don't be offensive.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And we did get a look at a little shot of vitamin water.
Yeah.
Blair calls Catherine to let her know that the plan is on, but her bedroom floor is off limits. Blair, does that mean she's free to fuck in your bed?
Yeah. And Blair, why would
you just say my room is off limits?
Yeah, yeah. Why is it just the floor? You also have like a couch in there.
Yeah.
Where I'm pretty sure that stuff started.
Yeah.
Which I would, personally, I'd rather them fuck on my floor.
Yeah, it's easier to clean.
Than in any other place in my room. And yeah, and it was also like, Blair, what did you do? Like, what? Like now Nate is the casualty. And like that.
Blair doesn't care. She doesn't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes she has an inkling of who's going to be a casualty. Right, like she cared when Eric was the accidental casualty.
He's a civilian,
right? Well, yeah, all right, facts, fair.
Nate's in the game.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I can't argue that.
And that is the end of the first act. We move into Act 2. Serena arrives back at the penthouse to see the flight attendant leaving, while Chuck pours himself a glass of whiskey neat. Chuck admits that he is having a problem in the bedroom. Chuck plans to use Blair as sexual Drano.
He's tried everything from the erotic to the pharmaceutical.
Yeah. And he does have a romantic bone in his body, especially that one.
Yeah, especially that one. And, man, Chuck, you're so fucking gross. Like, you're so gross.
Yeah, so, yeah, we get the best and the worst of Chuck in this episode.
Yeah, we really do.
You get the super quippy, hilarious one-liners, but then you also get the creepy Batman rapist.
Yeah, we get like the fucking, yeah.
Eleanor walks into the atelier just as Jenny was questioning Eleanor's design. Oh, didn't see that one coming. Jenny tries to apologize, but it's too late. Eleanor, already grumpy from her transatlantic flight, promptly fires Jenny.
I love Margaret Collins in this whole episode. She is, and
I love all their scenes together.
yeah, I want more of that.
Yeah.
They are two powerhouses just really acting up a storm together. They're amazing.
I love that we got some more layers to Eleanor this episode. She opened up to Jenny in a way we haven't seen before.
Yeah, and that scene where it's like, this intern is shitting on my stuff. Like,
That
you're
was
fired.
my biggest fear.
Yeah, exactly. And like, to fire her, she's completely in her right, and she acted like a
boss.
strong boss. And when she comes in and she fires her, and she even says, "I'll give you the letter of recommendation."
Yeah.
You still get the letter of recommendation from me. Your job here is done.
Yeah.
Like,
I need people around here I can trust.
Yeah. I had so much respect for her in that scene as a boss. She showed me like CEO boss,
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
and whereas Laurel has just shown like just asshole. Yeah. Just I'm going to stomp you in the dirt and I'm going to just bully you. Whereas like Margaret Collins was more brutal on Jenny by firing her, but just didn't do it with any kind of anything other than just business.
There's no vindictiveness like with Laurel.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought she sold me on that.
Nate runs into Marcus out on the streets. Nate discovers that Catherine is coming. Nate quickly leaves a voicemail for Vanessa, uninviting her.
God damn it, Nate. Oh, I promise I won't do this thing. And then he does it. And it's like, and Vanessa's response when she's talking to Rufus in the next scene, where she says, like, I can handle this. Like, I can take it. Like, Vanessa's seen shit. Like, Vanessa knows shit.
Vanessa gets the voicemail just in time for Rufus to enter the loft with an air conditioner. Vanessa opens up to Rufus about her problems with Nate. Dan walks in and Vanessa says she will meet him at the party. So, more weird scenes with Rufus and Vanessa.
Yeah.
But I was really worried he was going to say Vanessa is going to be my date. We can double date, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go with Vanessa. Yeah. Yeah.
And the woman that he did end up dating looked a little like Vanessa.
A little bit. I can see it. I did like his advice to her, though, when he's like, when he said, well, you can do X, Y, and Z. And she's like, that is the mature, grown-up response. Well, if you want to do the immature thing, you can just pretend you never got that message and show up anyway. And it was like, I liked it.
Yeah. We have arrived at the party of the week. All the principals are arriving. Chuck and Blair trade barbs. Chuck goes into full Batman mode and starts grinding on Blair right in the middle of the party.
Subtle.
So creepy.
Like, it's so creepy, but also like she's just like letting this happen too.
Yeah.
And like letting him like whisper things into her ear that are just so erotic. And it's like guys, you're like at the middle of a fucking party you're throwing.
Yeah. Dan picks up Serena at the penthouse, but things seem off between these two lovebirds.
Yeah. They clearly just have nothing left to talk about other than their issues, which they're avoiding talking about.
Back at the party, Nate confronts Blair, who doesn't deny helping Catherine to set him and Vanessa up.
I don't like sharing my toys, especially when I've paid for them. She is so disgusting.
Yeah. Oh, so bad.
Oh my God.
Can the story end?
Please. Like, and like, I don't even care if she doesn't go to jail. I would love for her to just end it just like with her losing fucking everything. Like, I feel like but I feel like it's going to end with her just going away and God, probably coming back at some point.
Then Catherine comes and gets way too handsy with Nate. He threatens to break up with her, and Catherine instantly plays the victim and starts apologizing. She is just pulling right from the abuser's handbook now. Vanessa walks in and sees Nate and Catherine holding hands, and then power goes out in all of Manhattan.
Yeah, she's so gross. Vanessa sees it, and he's like, fuck. But, like, it's so gross. She's so, like, The whole, like, trying to turn the tables and making it Nate's fault. And, like, oh, it was just...
We move into Act 3. Blair brings out the candles and tells everyone to remain calm.
No one goes outside in a blackout. Well, and which actually, Robin was like, what, no one can go out? And I was like, yeah, but it's a New York blackout. Like, there's no street lights.
Yeah, it would be
like,
scary.
It would be pitch fucking black out there, except for headlights. Headlights would be the only thing you would see. That sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not in the Upper East Side as much.
Nate pulls Vanessa aside and explains what's been going on.
When Vanessa stops and just says, tell me everything, Vanessa just, in my opinion, like, she just skyrocketed for me. Like, that she is, as much as she's such an asshole on so many occasions, she really is the person who I feel like is the most understanding of people go through shit.
Yeah.
And
Vanessa should be a good character.
Yeah.
But they just never give her a reason to exist.
Right. Yeah. And I really felt that my heart just for Vanessa, just, it was the first time that I was really like, wow, like wowed by her.
Yeah.
Just to stop and be like, okay, this is super fucked up. Tell me. And like, wow, that is a good person.
Catherine confronts Blair about her lack of sex life with Marcus and how it will always be that way.
Ew! Why do you know this?
Yeah.
Why do you know about his sex life?
Yeah. Well, I mean, presumably it's because the dad's the same way.
Maybe. But why are you talking about it? Why is... Ew.
Yeah. Where are they going with this?
Yeah. You're talking to a teenager. Yeah, hey, you know you're dating my son, but I bet he doesn't plow you, does he? Like, that's so fucked up. No boundaries.
Oh yeah, she wants to pretend she's still a teenager.
She does. She really does.
She's treating Blair like an equal.
Yeah. One last hurrah before the surgeries start.
Dan and Serena are stuck in an elevator. Dan uses the emergency phone and is pretty much told to just hang tight. Serena points out that he should have mentioned her name. They argue momentarily before Dan gives in and calls, and of course, now someone is coming right away.
She was right. Because she, for one, okay, Dan, she lives in the building. Like, she's a tenant. They know her. Like, so even aside from the whole, like, the world stops for Serena Vanderwoodson, which, yeah, you know what? It fucking does. And you could love that about her. You could. You could love that about her, but instead you just let it bother you. Fuck off, Dan. Fuck off.
It does bother pretty much everyone. And that's Blair, big problem too.
Yeah. But Serena doesn't necessarily ask for it, right? I feel like Serena just goes about her life doing Serena.
I'm not blaming Serena.
Yeah. No. But I'm saying, like, the people that do have a problem with it, and Blair doesn't like it because, of course, there is the whole Blair's always working to be what Serena is naturally.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I guess Dan kind of is too, but at least Blair is able to see through that and remain best friends with her, you know?
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Some of the time. About a third of the time.
Sure. But I mean, like you said from the start, like, they are the core friendship.
Yes.
You know, they are the core ship.
And at least they were in season 1. It's now the Chuck and Blair show.
Oh, okay. I thought that was an ongoing thing.
It should have been.
Yeah, agreed.
Jenny, broken and defeated, is about to leave her job for the last time and presumably walk back to Brooklyn in the middle of a blackout. However, even Eleanor isn't that cruel and tells Jenny to stay until the blackout is over. Oh, and as long as you're here, make yourself useful.
Yeah. And again, like, every scene with the two of them.
Great bonding. This is where, you know, she reveals, you know, her insecurities to Jenny, and then Jenny, you know, comes back, you know, gives her a little pep talk.
Was that this one? Yeah. And they have great chemistry together. They both are just really vulnerable and very, just the communication is so good, and they just play off each other so well. I loved it.
Back to Nate and Vanessa. Nate is begging her to save him from his to catch a predator scenario gone wrong. She tells him he needs to do it himself, but she will be here when he gets back.
Again, Vanessa was great in this. Vanessa was just understanding and loving and caring, and was just a very empathetic person in this episode, and I loved it.
Blair attempts to seduce Marcus. She tells him to meet in her bedroom, but Chuck overhears.
Yeah, and so then we have the Revenge of the Nerds setup, which, great, Chuck. Back, we're inching back to episode 1, Chuck.
Yeah, not good. Even though Blair clearly knew who it was, it's still not good.
Yeah.
Back from commercial, we get a run-in between Vanessa and Catherine. Yes, Catherine, we do try to forgive children when they're victims of sex crimes.
She's so fucking dumb. She is so dumb.
Yes, we forgive them.
Yeah. Oh, you're just okay with him paying or being paid by me for sex so he can save his family? You're okay with that?
What is wrong with this lady? Ugh.
No one told her no as a kid.
Blair is waiting in her room when Chuck enters and imitates Marcus' accent, telling Blair to blow out her candle. Chuck and Blair begin to get steamy in the dark.
The Brit doing the American, doing the Brit, and my one note is it must have been really difficult for him to do a shitty British accent to try to sound like Marcus.
Yeah.
My other thing about this, and this is a Buffy thing, I went to a panel at a comic book convention years ago, and there was a Buffy panel, and James Marsters.
You didn't realize he was American, did you?
No, I did.
Okay.
I did know.
Okay.
So Spike was on this panel, and I got in line, and I said one of my favorite Buffy moments was when the American guy was pretending to be, who was acting as a British guy, pretending to be an American guy. And he's like, I'm a friend of Xander's. I love that scene so much. And I got to actually tell him that to his face. I also asked Amber Benson what it was like to have her name on the credits on her last episode.
Burn.
Well, but I've always wondered that, because it's such a, I've always been like, what a dick move of Joss Whedon to not give her an opening credit until your shirt.
At the atelier, Eleanor is really opening up with Jenny about her insecurities. Jenny returns the favor by opening up to Eleanor. She talks about how one of Eleanor's dresses inspired Jenny to take up fashion in the first place.
Yeah, and this is the one that I was thinking of, where she lays that out, that and she's like, you don't have to tell me these things. She's like, no, you're the reason I'm here.
Yeah,
which also, if you think about it, really explains. We didn't know that beforehand, and it really gives a lot of background as to why she turned down. What was her name in the other episode?
Tinsley Mortimer.
Why she turned down Tinsley Mortimer's internship.
Yeah. In the elevator, things are heating up with Dan, but not in a sexy way like last week. They finally admit that they forgive each other for their sins, but Dan's issues are going to prevent them from working as a couple.
They had the time to sit and discuss.
Yeah, they were forced to finally work it out.
Yeah. And that was my thing, is that for one, I felt like the catalyst was kind of dumb. Tell the people that the name of the person in the elevator because she lives there. But they could have worked it out, and they decided to just not talk and just ignore it. And that bothered me, because there was that period of time.
I think they both knew it was not right. And that's why they didn't want to talk.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I feel like if Dan wasn't such a pretentious dick,
but he's not. They're both who they are. So it's just they are not right at least at this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that, but also I think Dan's an idiot.
Oh yeah, he's definitely an idiot. He's judgmental.
Yeah, if Dan could get over his shit, like you said in your scene by scene, if Dan could get over his shit, then they could work it out.
Yeah.
But it's Dan just being too wrapped up in his own judgmental shit.
Nate is looking for Vanessa, but finds Catherine instead. The lights come back on, and it looks like Nate is still trapped.
Yeah. I don't think I even had a note for this because they just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just end the story already.
Please.
Marcus enters Blair's room to find her getting hot and heavy with Chucky Boy.
I mean, she looks guilty.
Yeah.
And it also makes me realize Chuck doesn't get punched enough.
Yeah, he should get punched more.
Yeah, like it should be like an episodal activity, like the weekly punching of Chuck. But it was nice to see him get punched.
Although Marcus looked like deranged.
Marcus looked like what?
He looked deranged.
Oh, yeah. Well, I believe that was because the guy playing Marcus is not a very good actor.
Yeah.
But that could be me.
But yeah, he looked like super sweaty and his eyes were like all sunken in and like, just looking sickly almost.
Yeah.
So that is the end of Act 3. We move into the epilogue. Blair tells Marcus that she thought Chuck was him. Chuck claims Blair knew exactly who it was, and then Marcus steps in and punches Chuck and storms out.
Oh, my bad. That's where you get punched. Yeah. But he doesn't get punched enough.
Blair follows after him, and Marcus demands the truth in front of all the guests. Blair admits that she did know it was Chuck, that it was Marcus, just wasn't making shit happen. Marcus is having his manhood challenge, immediately rises to the bait, and plants a big fat smooch on Blair. Chuck is forced to look on in defeat.
So, I mean, it's another Chuck scheme backfiring.
Yeah.
Because it only pushed them closer together. But also, like, a couple of things that just... First of all, the fact that Blair was like, you need to have sex with me now at this party. And he was like, let's not at this party right now. And she's like, no. And then like...
Well, I get the sense that this has been building up. They kind of show that it's, she's been antsy for like a week or two now.
Yeah, we do get that impression. And like, the whole like Chuck pushing it over the edge thing by their whole encounter.
The whispering.
But for it to end with him being like, okay, I'll show you, and I'm going to just make out with you right here in front of all these people. And it's like...
It was such a 90s, early 2000s macho type thing.
It really was.
Like, and you're going to challenge my manhood?
Yeah. And like, okay, I'll show you how passionate I am. And it was like...
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't buy it. Like, Chuck, it didn't look like it. It looked like it backfired, but just give it a week.
Nate catches Vanessa just as she is leaving. Vanessa tearfully tells Nate that he should be with Catherine. Catherine slips Nate a hotel card and tells him to meet her tomorrow.
I really felt for Vanessa and Nate in this scene, too. Like, Vanessa really looks upset and really looks hurt, and I felt for her. But Nate, like, really? You want me to be with her? Okay.
I guess.
Vanessa says I should keep being with you for the money. Like, come on. Chase, you're better than that.
Jenny is getting ready to leave now that the power is back. Good Dad Rufus shows up, date in tow, to pick up Jenny. Eleanor reinstates Jenny and immediately puts Jenny, Rufus, and Rufus' date to work.
Robin even pointed out, I wasn't supposed to mention her name again. I told her I'll give her a second shout out when she starts watching the show. But she pointed out that, like, everyone is Eleanor's gopher, too.
Yeah.
Like, can your dad just go pick us up some takeout? And his friend here, if she can get the drinks and if just, like, sending people out for food that she just met.
Yes, it extends to other people in later seasons too.
I thought it was so great, and I felt like, again, it felt she sells it though.
Mm.
And if Eleanor Waldorf turned to me and said, "Hey, I need you to go get me Chinese food," I don't think I could say no.
The power's back on, and Dan and Serena are saying goodbye. It looks like the OG golden couple is not meant to be. Dan just needs to get over his issues because as we see the door close, Serena declares that she loves Dan.
Yeah, and like, Dan, you're just as fucking dumb as the end of season 1. And really, it was like, what was the purpose of this little 3-episode epilogue? Why did you put us all through this again?
Yeah. They should have just moved on.
And honestly, I'm not completely sold that this is done, because I feel like it sometimes takes them 3 episodes to break up in this show.
Yeah, well, of course, the next episode is called The X-Files. Chuck has Anne Markley in the back of his limo, eager for round 2. She seems ready to go, but Chuck realizes he only wants to be with Blair. Oh, Chuck. In love.
Aww.
Now stop being a sex pest and be a decent person.
Yeah, and also fucking rude. Like, my note there is fucking rude. Yeah,
she was just trying to get her nut.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, I am all better, just not for you. Like, oh, you dick.
You can at least go down on her.
Yeah, like make it worth her while.
Back in Brooklyn, Dan and Vanessa are bemoaning their respective failed relationships. Vanessa reveals Catherine threatened to reveal the captain's location to the FBI if Nate leaves her. Is Nate's dick actually the fountain of youth? Surely there are other attractive young men in New York that would be all too happy to sleep with Catherine. Why is she so thirsty that she has to resort to bribing and blackmailing teenagers? Note the pluralization of teenagers now.
Yeah. Yes, she's now blackmailing multiple teenagers. And like, yeah, you know, she might turn in Nate's dad. But what about like the sex trafficking and soliciting of a minor that she's doing? Like, you've got stuff on her too, Vanessa. And also, please don't do the Dan Vanessa. I keep seeing it coming, like this fucking freight train.
I like the scene though. I thought it was a good friendship scene.
I thought it was a great friendship scene. I'm worried about it getting romantic. Yeah. I just feel like
they were definitely hot and sweaty together.
Yeah, and they're all gonna fuck.
And why wouldn't they? They all look great.
Like, why wouldn't any of them? Why don't they all just have a big sextuple?
Yeah,
and just call it a day.
Yep.
Just live in a big fucking beach house together and make the most beautiful babies, all of them.
Yeah. But that is our episode. So any predictions?
I guess that's a little more small. It's a little more Chloe from Smallville. Anyway, predictions. The Dan Vanessa ship seems like it's coming closer. I keep feeling like they're trying to set that up.
So, any guesses on what's going on with Marcus? Why he doesn't like to have sex with his girlfriend?
The fact that you had brought up, did you bring up his dad? Like, maybe that she knows it because his dad's like that. But you know, there's the thought of, is he an asexual character? Like, is that a thing that they're going to bring into the show and discuss? That would be cool. But I feel like it's probably some kind of royal snobbery or some kind of stuff like that. Or maybe he doesn't want to go to jail as like a 32-year-old sleeping with a 17-year-old.
It's New York. It's all good.
It's New York.
I think it's 16 in Pennsylvania.
It is. Well, it is, but there are certain like other caveats to that, like police and like teachers and certain like professions that it is actually still like illegal.
Lords?
That's why I brought it up, because it is typically things where it is positions of power that make it illegal, but this also doesn't seem like that's like a profession. Like, he's in a position of power, but I feel like it's one of those positions of power that would make it disgustingly easy to get away with doing this, which like we're seeing.
Community.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get into some segments. We're going to go to This Week in Fandom. Jumped into the Wayback Machine to check out the Television Without Pity forums. And I'm here with my boy Steve. Say hello, Steve.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Not a Rocky and Bullwinkle fan?
Not a what?
Rocky and Bullwinkle fan?
Not really. Like, a little bit, but like not much.
Yeah, that's the line from the Peabody. And
Hello there, Peabody here. And this is the Wayback Machine for traveling through time. And this is my boy, Sherman. Speak, Sherman. Hello. Good boy.
Oh, yeah.
So in the forums, Chuck and Blair are fire. Like, yeah, they were wetting their panties on the forums for Chuck and Blair.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, like,
The scenes were sexy.
yeah, and he sure can whisper.
Yes. Very,
Inaudibly.
very talented whisperer.
Very talented, inaudible whisperer.
Good with his mouth.
Honestly, it is such a cliche, but such a great, like, where you have the guy whisper into the ear and the woman, like, visually note, because the thing is that no man actually knows what they're saying when they're doing. like we're all like, whoa, that guy pulled it off.
More vibes from Rufus and Vanessa. Yeah, we noted that.
Yeah.
Well, Marcus has a bad accent and no chemistry with Leighton.
Yep. Zero
Checks
chemistry, terrible accent. Yep. I think that the no chemistry was by design, though. I feel like it is because they're trying to make this non-passionate, this passion-free relationship. That might have been by design.
Majority of the people were happy about Dan and Serena breaking up.
Dumb. Majority of the people are dumb.
They're clearly not working.
I know. But I feel like, but I'm mad.
And they were never going to work.
I know, but I'm mad that Dan can't grow up. Let me have that.
The problem started before they even started dating, though.
Yeah.
It's because he put her on a pedestal, and then she was not that person.
Yeah. Yep.
But, he's a teenager. He'll learn, hopefully.
Yeah.
People actually like Vanessa for once.
Yeah, she was great in this episode. As a human being and as a person, her acting was on par for Vanessa, but like, which, not to shit on her acting, I think that she just always plays Vanessa, but like, I thought that she was really well written this episode.
They were definitely all swooning over Chuck, and no one was really buying the nervous penis storyline.
Oh, I think that makes so much sense for a Chuck storyline. Like, I think that, and yeah, I find it to be completely believable.
He's 17.
Yeah, but they also don't really portray them as teenagers all the time, right? Like, they make them have grown-up problems a lot.
Yes, I don't really buy it. When I was 17, a slight breeze got me there.
Yes. I mean, you're not wrong.
Just moving around those silk boxers I'm sure he wears.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I'd be hard constantly.
Yeah.
And then also much more positive about Jenny's storyline this season compared with last season.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I like her being ambitious and a career-oriented rather than trying to be a mean girl.
Yeah.
Dan's stock continues to plummet.
Yeah.
But they were impressed with Penn's acting.
Yeah.
I did think the scenes with him and Serena were they were really good.
Yeah. No.
Both of them did a really good job.
Yeah.
More positive than negative for Chair, but a few people are already anticipating it dragging out like Seth and Summer from the OC and becoming stale.
That's fair.
A few people were negative towards and even slut-shaming Blair.
I can see it. Especially then, 12 years ago.
And so it's kind of interesting. This is the same kind of thing that got her dethroned in season 1, getting caught hooking up with two guys at the same time.
But this time she was very public about it.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any repercussions either.
Yeah, I mean, although we have not seen anything after that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it did seem very much like everyone. It seemed like everyone was like, "Yeah, we get it, Blair. He's a dud."
Now, a couple people seem to think something's going on between Marcus and Catherine.
I've had that suspicion in the previous episode. The fact that she always chases away the girlfriends, right, and the fact that she always like gets in the way and that he doesn't like how she is around them. The fact that she is a child predator, those things both kind of lead me to say, like, maybe she made a pass at him at some point and he was like, no. Because why does she know that he doesn't have sex? I feel like...
Is there any chance that he's gay?
I think that's possible too. I just feel like they already did that. You know, that was one of my thoughts, especially a couple minutes ago when you asked, like...
But they did it with Jenny.
Yeah.
And this show loves to parallel itself.
Oh, it does. Yeah, I mean, because I also had that thought too. I just wouldn't think that they would want to go back to that well already. Yeah. That was the only reason I didn't. But then again, I think maybe sometimes I give this show too much.
We do know, like, Eric likes those older looking, taller guys.
Yeah. Eric likes those 30-year-olds.
That is it for the forums for this week. So let's go ahead and move into some episode grades.
All right. I think I go first.
Yes, you go first.
All right. Yeah, let's do some episode grades. First of all, I gave this one a solid B. I thought it was a good, solid episode. I enjoyed it a lot more. It was my favorite of season 2 so far. Like you said, I feel like it had its place among season 1 episodes, except for the only thing that's out of place is the soap opera storyline. That we didn't have quite that level of soap opera in season 1. But like I found the Dan and Serena stuff annoyed me, like I said. The little J and Eleanor scenes predictable but amazing, like cliche but so well done. This show can work a cliche. That is something that it has done a few times. The whole Nate, Vanessa, Catherine thing is gross, but it's still intriguing and engaging.
Mm-hmm.
And Chair being Chair. I don't like it when Catherine gets the best of Blair. I don't like it when she gets Blair on her back heels.
This is Blair now, though.
What?
This is Blair now.
Yeah, just on her back heels.
Well, not necessarily that, but she's always feeding on insecurities. That they really are going to play that up going forward. She has these insecurities, and she's clever, but she's not the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
She does not. She's vicious, and she'll go to any lengths.
Mm-hmm.
And she's definitely clever, and she is smart, but she's not the smartest.
Yeah. That's fair. But yeah, overall, solid B.
So I thought this episode had great directing. The use of the blackout as a set piece was great. I think it worked really well.
Yeah.
Then we also had great acting. Both the Serena and Dan scenes and the Eleanor and Jenny scenes were both standouts. And I thought the writing was, outside of the Catherine and Nate stuff, that's the only thing that really brought it down. So I actually gave it an A-.
That's fair. I don't think that's I think that is a fair grade. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move into stock block. What do you got going up?
All right, going up, for one, I was really torn on Vanessa because she kind of loses out in the end, but I felt like she was just such a good, empathetic person that I had Vanessa going up. I had Jenny and Eleanor both going up because they both, in both performance-wise and as characters, they both had growth, like visible growth in one episode. So both of them, I had Rufus going up. Rufus is dating. Good job, Rufus. Way to get back out there. But that's all that I had going up.
For me, I definitely had Jenny. She, started off, looked like she was going to get fired, but, obviously pulled through in the end and had some good bonding with Eleanor. Eleanor also, she got good bonding with Jenny, and we got some more layers to her like we got in Roman Holiday. So I like that. Rufus, like you said, he's dating, and by far the best parent because he's the only parent that actually cared about his kids in the blackout.
Yeah.
The only one to actually check on this child.
Yeah, who went out in the blackout to find his kid.
Yes. And then I also had Dan and Serena going up because I think they needed to have this happen. And they just, they were treading water for the past 2 episodes. And now they're finally out of this and they can move on. Hopefully they can be friends. and still remain in the same orbit, because otherwise we got the 2 shows.
Yeah.
So we got to kind of figure out a way for them to still interact.
Which they've been really good at so far with every other ex relationship.
Mm-hmm. But that's it for going up for me. Who do you got going down?
I have both of them going down. And I feel like the breakup sends them down, and they got to go down before they go up. I feel like they've kind of hit a rock bottom here, too, which is much better than a Chuck rock bottom. I have Laurel going down, because fuck you, Laurel.
Yeah, I didn't even care enough about her to...
I actually had her more as an afterthought, but I wanted to make sure to knock her down for being so shitty to Little J. And then I had Nate and Catherine, both of them going down, because God, she's so... And poor Nate. Poor fucking Nate.
For me, Chuck, he loses this episode big. Blair, because she's humiliated and acts a fool. Marcus, because he got cucked. Nate, obviously, he's still getting raped.
Yeah.
Catherine,
being a rapist.
And I gave Vanessa, because even though I liked her performance and I felt bad for her, she clearly lost this episode.
And it's funny. I think that I really like that she got an up and a down, because I really felt like both things happened to her. You know, that there was character growth and some great stuff, but also she lost in the end. And I also am glad that you gave Blair, Chuck, and Marcus the down, because I didn't think it was quite enough to send them down, but I got it. And I think so I think that I'm actually really happy with today's Stock Watch.
Well, that is it for Stock Watch. Who do you have for best outfit?
But here's the best outfits from the last episode we've seen.
Chuck's pajamas. I thought those were just fucking dope, and I want to wear them.
So I felt bad for Vanessa voting her down, so I'm going to give her the best outfit. I thought overall she had a couple of good outfits this episode, but the one I gave it to was the flower print maxi dress from the Jovovich Hawk 2007 collection. And she also had the necklace with the hoop, and had the 2 red stones that kind of look like cranberries. So that kind of worked well with the flowers.
Yeah. Very cool.
That is it for segments. Let's go ahead and move into plugs. Anything plug or recommend this week?
I would recommend watching, I think I brought it up before, but I would definitely recommend watching The Sympathizer on Max. It's a show about a North Vietnamese spy during the fall of Saigon and the end of the Vietnam War. And it's just a really cool spy show. Intrigue, fun watch.
For me, I am going to go ahead and recommend Booksmart. I know I'm a little late on this one. It came out in 2019. It is a teen coming-of-age movie. I think it's best described as super bad for Gen Z. So, yeah, it's very funny. Good to see that they are still making raunchy teen comedies. So I really enjoyed that. So if you're a fan of Superbad, definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
And you can follow me on social media at Hot Capicola on Instagram. You can follow the podcast at Non-Judging Breakfast Pod on Instagram and TikTok and Threads. And on Twitter, we are at NJB Pod. We also now have a website. You can find us at nonjudgingbreakfastpod.com, nonjudgingbreakfastpod.com. And there you can find links to our Reddit and Discord servers.
Yeah, and you can feel free to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at steve.marchon, MARCHION. And also, if you want to get in touch with us and send us an email, we'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to hear your suggestions and read them on the air. Our email address is nonjudgingbreakfastpod@gmail.com. And also, please hit that little follow, subscribe button. And also tell your friends what you're listening to and get them to listen to the Non-Judging Breakfast Pod with you.
Yeah, give us a review on iTunes. It's definitely helps with visibility a lot. We will be back next week to talk about Season 2, Episode 4, The X-Files. The Max episode preview reads, Vanessa learns a scandalous secret and enlists Blair's help.
Yeah, I love the idea of a Blair Vanessa team up. I'm here for that because like for Vanessa to go to Blair, it says a lot, but also the fact that like Blair loves the challenge and Blair loves the scheme.
So I mean, the secret has to be what's going on with Marcus, right?
Yeah. I mean, I figure it has to be, and yeah, I think it has to be the Catherine Marcus thing. I'm really excited for this episode.
Well, we will be back next week. Until next time, you know you love us. XOXO.
Take care.
Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Oh, it seems I'm walking right to your door. My heart's still resting, looking for something more. Are you ever gonna see everything you mean to me? I'm trying really hard to believe. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Never feels right when I'm out here on my own. I left last night and it feels like way too long. Are you ever gonna see everything you mean to me? I'm trying really hard to believe. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Come back to me. Smile and you'll make my life complete. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me with you there. Every time you walk away, run away, you take a piece of me